Hello, welcome to a very special episode of NBL Now. We understand that it is the off-season, but there's a lot of moving and shaking, a lot of eyes on free agency. But this right here, well, we're going to New Zealand. We're going to go to the Breakers because joining me now is a very special guest, the president of basketball operations, but a very familiar name in the New Zealand landscape, Dillon Boucher. Mate, thank you for jumping on. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Real good. Really, again, stoked to be back and great to be chatting with you. It's exciting times ahead for sure.
Tell us a bit about how it all came about for you personally. Obviously, you're so well connected with the club. We understand everything that you've achieved with the club. We know what happened in the past few years. How did it all come about?
Man, it was like a whirlwind, to be honest. So I got a text from Mark Mitchell. I think it was on like a Saturday, and he's like, "Can we catch up tomorrow?" And I'm thinking, like, we catching up on a Sunday? There must be something he wants to talk about. He didn't really elaborate too much on it. And so we ended up catching up, and, he told me he'd purchased the club. It hadn't gone through, but he kind of talked about it and was like, do you want to be involved in some way, shape or form? And I'm like, yeah, man, of course. Just tell me what it looks like. And so we talked back and forth, and, I was really happy in my role of CEO of Basketball New Zealand, and kind of had no plans to leave anytime soon, and until this conversation happened. Then I was like, got really excited again about coming back to the club, and the rest is history. I ended up, sitting down and working out what it looked like, and here I am.
That phone call then in particular, are you thinking when he's talking about coming back to the club, are you thinking a smaller role? Are you saying, okay, am I just getting back in the mix? Or I'm assuming you didn't expect it to be on this magnitude.
No, initially it was, kind of like in a consulting type role. It was like, hey, we've got Tom Abercrombie and, the Blackwells are back, and, are you interested in being involved? And I was kind of like, yeah, cool, whatever role I can play, great. And then we started talking around, different roles within the club, and and I was kind of like, yeah, man, of course I'd be keen, So, I'm just, again, pumped to be back and super excited for the future of the club.
And you should be. And we've already started to see some of the signings drip out. We've seen all the media from the new ownership, from yourself, for everybody since that became official. But you, more so than probably a lot of fans out there, you understand, you've been there, you've lived through the club when it was at its absolute highest. We're talking 4 championships in 5 years. When we started NBL seasons in the 2010s onwards, you just penciled in the New Zealand Breakers to be in a championship series because you knew they'd be contending. The excitement for you to be able to tap back into that and get it back to that driving force, can you even put a level on it?
I tell you what, the league has changed a bit since those days. I must admit, the league has really evolved. But one thing that's still true is you still need a core group of guys that are your backbone, and then you have your complementary pieces that you add to it. So, we've made no mistake in trying to develop a core group of local talent that's able to do the job, and then adding the crucial pieces of imports to that puzzle to hopefully be able to build a championship caliber team. Now, are we expecting that to happen next year? We'd like it to happen next year, but we know this is going to take a little bit of time to build. We're not going to be impatient with it. We're not going to go and put crazy money in year one and try and win it and then go, yay, look what we did, because that's kind of like a false sense of security as well. We want to start building from the ground up. So we want to get our foundations right. We want to ensure that we're, day to day, we're going through processes that are going to put us in the best position to succeed. We're going to be able to have, be a values-based club that care about the community, care about our fans, and put people first. And I think if we can do all those things, it'll put us in the best position to succeed. And then it comes down to roster, what you can put in your roster. And, it's one thing that's changed is the money in 6 years. The money's a lot more. Teams are spending more. So you have to be very frugal or very, very do your due diligence on things to make sure you're getting the right pieces that fit what you're trying to do, as opposed to just buying players for the sake of buying them.
The culture and the continuity of the roster, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did a deep dive 2 weeks ago. In the last decade, the last team to win a championship had less than 7 players returning from the year prior was the New Zealand Breakers. Their last championship, when it was 6. But you're right, it's the continuity of having that rollover, and you talk about bringing back local talent to begin that journey once again. It seemed like the most important thing from an encore perspective.
100%. And I think, the thing that I've learned, I mean, I watched that Illawarra Hawks team, and they looked like they were having fun, man. They looked like they enjoyed each other's company. It reminded me of when I played in the Breakers in the early days, where we loved playing. We competed every day at training, but we enjoyed each other's company. We hung out together. We lived together pretty much, throughout the whole season. We were mates on and off the court, and so you wanted to work hard for your teammate. You wanted to pass the ball to your teammate in the right position for them to succeed. And it wasn't about you trying to individually get your stats to a point where you got paid more. We just played. Everyone had a role on the team to play, and it was really good. And I thought, to the Hawks' credit, that's exactly what they did. They had their key superstars that took a lot of the shots, but there were like X factors like a Dave O'Hickey coming in and just blowing the final series up just with his energy and excitement and wild play, which you kind of love, and you love that he was given the green light to be able to go and play like that. And then you had your veterans on the bench that would come in and make big shots game after game, and again, everyone had a role, but everyone was ready to play that role. Like Toddy Blanchfield comes off the bench, he's ready to just get a shot up any time, but he's also happy to play 4 minutes and get a win as well. Like he's not sitting there pouting about his minutes. So having people buy into roles is so important with the season. And anytime you have one player that's creating that fracture, it can spread throughout the whole team.
Well, it talks a bit about the local talent that you've got in now. And again, just recently announced today as we're recording this with Rob Lowe coming back to the Breakers. It's an incredible story for a man who retired 2 years ago, came out of retirement and put up one of his best, I think it was his second best statistical season for Melbourne United this year when they fell short in the Championship Series. But he's back. Ruben Tarangi, Isaiah Liafa, guys who we've seen have some real success with not just a Breakers uniform on, but a Tall Blacks jersey as well. Why are you so excited about these core pieces already that are returning?
Yeah, I mean, they all have each individual kind of stories to them. I look at a guy like Ruben. I see, I watched him play at a World Cup, and, he's playing against the world's best and, shooting the crap out of the ball at a World Cup, and you're thinking that's the biggest stage in the world and he's doing it there. Can we unlock that? Can we unlock that, Ruben, when we bring him home and get around, his whānau, his family and be immersed in his culture? And can we unlock that more so than maybe what he was able to do at Jack Jumpers or Phoenix, So that's exciting for someone like him. Isaiah Liafa, I truly believe that he's got a lot left in the tank, and I think he's a great shooter. He's a great defender. I think he's going to play a really crucial part in what we're trying to do. Rob Lowe, who you mentioned, Robbie just seems to be ageless. He turned the clock back so many times this year, and I'm like, man, if we can get that dude to show up, and he comes back here again, he gets in the comforts of home, is able to have our training facilities down the road from his house, so it's like perfect. It's like everything aligns nicely. And then you add Taylor Britt, who a lot of probably Australians don't know a lot about, but experienced, Tall Blacks point guard. In the Philippines game recently, he was probably one of the best players on court. Has won multiple championships in the Sal's NBL over the last 2 years. Again, another talented guard that a lot of people don't know a lot about, but I think they'll be surprised at how good he is, and I think he's ready. He had a little stint in Perth and as a development player, but probably has been that guy sitting on the fringe right now that kind of has a lot to prove, and I think he's gonna surprise quite a few people in the NBL.
He's going to be a fascinating story. He's playing very well now as well in the offseason. As the roster continues to come together, and I like that you talked about where you're building to. When you sit down, when you get into this new role, you're sitting down with ownership, is it hard not to look at just the next year of saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going back to the roots. We're bringing it back to here, but understanding this is probably, we want to look to sustain this for 5 to 10 years, which, as you said, if you go all out in year one, well, that can fall apart in year two. It's all about continuously building back to where it all was. Is it hard not to get too excited to look too far ahead?
Oh, for sure. And anytime you've got a new ownership group, guess what? They want to win a championship, right? So they are very motivated to win. And that's great. And I love that pressure. That's the whole reason we're in this game. We want to win championships, and our fans want us to win championships. And, everyone that comes to a game wants to see the team succeed. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to do that for the fans and for our people that have been on this journey with us since the beginning. So, but again, you're right. You've got to have one eye on the future as well. And I can clearly remember when I was recruited back to the Breakers from the Bullets, and they were said everything's different now. And I'm like, why is everything different? They said, oh, it's this, this culture that we've built, and from day one you felt it. You felt like you were part of something bigger than just the game. And I think that's what it's about for us. It's about being unique, being from New Zealand. We've got the whole country. we're literally like a national team playing in a professional league, and we have that chip on our shoulder being the little brother across the ditch, and we want to be able to prove that we can beat the bigger brother in games. And, so we come with this, I guess, this chip on our shoulder, and wear our heart on our sleeve and just play hard every game. And if we can do that, I think we're going to put us in the best position to succeed.
And a lot of that's going to be building that fortress in New Zealand once again. And it's probably hard, or it's easy for people to look over the challenges that the Breakers faced in the 2020s, in the COVID years, when spent most of their time, nearly all of their time in Australia, away from home. But to look forward to this new era, to get back to those little roots, to bring in the local talent, to build from the ground up once again, there's every reason for every fan to be super excited right now.
And we're hoping people get on the train, like we're going to try and do well, and we're going to again engage with our fans and the community and our members, and we want them to come along this journey with us, and we're going to need them, again, we need, Spark Arena to be rocking every game, and we need, when visiting teams come in, they don't want to be there. I can remember going to Challenge Stadium, and no one wanted to go play there. It was like, I hated playing Perth in their venue. And we knew if we were going to win a championship, we had to go through Perth and that venue. Obviously, they've gone to a bigger venue now, but you have those venues that you actually hate going into because the fans are on top of you and it's loud and you can't communicate with your teammates. All that stuff matters. And, certainly, I heard through those final series that, each building was just so incredibly loud. And that's what's so exciting about the game, man. And that's why basketball is such a great sport.
It is, and again, I got to play in Spark Arena, and you're right. It can be really right on top of you. Those fans can make sure that they know they're there. I can't let you go without talking about the rest of these final pieces. Maybe not so much names for me now, because I know how free agency works, and there's a lot of names on the whiteboard. But what kind of pieces are you looking to potentially fill out the remaining local talent, but also those key imports where historically in recent years, New Zealand's nailed import recruitment? I mean, we've seen it. I know Championship Series a couple of years ago where they fell short, but always manages to secure some very high-level talent.
Yeah, obviously imports play a huge part in what you're trying to do, and they, again, fill some of those pieces that you maybe don't have. And, for us, there's no secret. PJC, Parker Jackson Cartwright, is the first guy that we want to secure, and we're hopeful that we can do that, but we all know that he's probably one of the most sought-after commodities in this league. When a guy's proven year in, year out that they can deliver, they're going to be pretty attractive to any team. So we're not unrealistic to know that, but we would love to secure his services, and we're in constant communication with his agent and himself to, he knows we want him. And he loves New Zealand, so we've got that on our side. But business is business, and we understand that we're not unrealistic to know that, these guys have a short period to earn good money, and we don't begrudge anyone that would end up taking another job because they're able to put food in their kids' mouths, or put a roof over their heads. So and then obviously if we're not fortunate enough to get him, then we'll be looking for a point guard that can do the things that he can do and be able to take over a game. We'll be looking for again another complementary guard import to be able to play alongside Karim Lopez, who's, a huge part of what we're trying to do this year. Having a next star with this ability is like having a fourth import, essentially. And, so we're excited about seeing his growth, because we know he's going to be working hard in the offseason, getting ready for the NBA draft. We know he's going to come back better. We hope we can take his game to a new level and be able to have him really fill out that starting roster spot, to 3 spot, to be able to make us successful. And then we'll be looking for an import big to be able to close out that roster, and it'll be like a 4-man that can really again get on the rim. Again, hopefully we're actually fortunate we've got some shooting bigs, so we don't necessarily need a shooting big. It's going to be a nice luxury if they can do both, but certainly just going to be a high level player that can play above the rim and secure every loose rebound, and just come up with plays when you need them to come up with plays. So again, pretty clear with what we're wanting. And again, great to have built out our local roster with the talent we've got. And we believe if we add 3 good inputs to that, we put ourselves in a pretty good chance to, to again, follow the process to be able to go on to win a championship.
You mentioned earlier how the league has changed, the money aspect of things have changed, and you've been thrown into now this role where the fans are passionate and every fan wants to win a championship every single year straight away with the highest talent possible. A lot of names that continue to pop up is, how do they get Yanni Wetzel back? How do they get Finn Delaney back? When you understand, and from a fan's point of view, that those conversations are always happening, I'm sure, but understanding, as you said, that there are some big offers on the table, and there's some other things that perhaps those players like that want to achieve in the time. But there's always going to be, for the New Zealand Breakers, chasing them, I'm sure, wanting to bring them home at some point.
Absolutely. Every New Zealander, I think, that's playing outside of New Zealand right now or Australia right now has either had a conversation with them directly or their agent, and trying to understand exactly what it would take to bring these guys back. Some are not ready yet. Some are clearly going to stay in, overseas leagues. And I know NBL teams are approaching some of them as we speak. And, I know for some of them, would we love them on our team? Absolutely. Are we realistic that we can keep every top New Zealander? No, that's just not going to happen. And the fans don't get that because they think, why can't you just bring these guys back? Other teams can afford them. Why can't you? It's about being strategic with how you build your roster too. And obviously being able to ensure that, that you're not, again, breaking that budget. There's a couple of guys on my radar now that if they turn up on an NBL roster, I'm going to be sick, but I'm also going to be realistic because I know that we couldn't reach them. And there's teams that probably can reach them in some way, shape or form. But again, that's just part of sport, unfortunately. And the fans, unfortunately, don't understand that. And my DMs would tell you that they don't understand that. So, but that's all right. That's the passionate fans. It's not their job to worry about what happens, on the salary cap, on the books and things like that. All they want to know is what product are they seeing out there on the floor. But it is always hard. I mean, we're realistic. We've had New Zealanders playing in Australian teams for years, and that's never going to change, and we're never going to be able to bring them all home. But, the ones, there's some that you would love to bring home. Absolutely. So, yeah, it's again a work in progress. And, for those ones, now we've filled up our local roster. We've still got 3 spots available, but, for us to be able to bring out those top local talent, these guys are earning good money for a reason because they're very good basketball players and they deserve to be paid the money that they're being paid.
I have mentioned on a couple of free agency shows with that you're looking at building this roster this year with the names. And if one of those names in years gone by is on a contract that maybe ends in 2 years or signs a contract that ends in 2 years, that doesn't just go off your whiteboard, I assume. That goes, hey, in 2 years' time, we're picking up the phone again and we're having another crack.
Yep. There's a couple of guys that, I've said to their agent, hey, I'm going to come and see you next year. Yeah. Hopefully the time's right. There's some talented Kiwi guys out there. And that's, we've talked a lot about Kiwis. There's Australians too, that we've got on our depth charts. I mean, we're trying to build a New Zealand roster, but at the same time, we're trying to win championship too. So if there's a better Australian player that you can get to fill a roster spot, we're going to get that player. I look back to the championships of old, the CJ Brutons of the world, the Daryl Corlettos, these guys that played crucial pieces in championship success. And we adopt them. New Zealanders are very good at adopting an Australian and pretending they're one of ours. So we know they'll adopt them. If they're a good player and they play a great role for the team, they'll be adopted very quickly. And, we've got Sean Bestow on our roster this year. He's adopted very quickly. New Zealanders probably don't even know he's Australian because they haven't seen him before this. So he plays well. He'll be a New Zealand citizen before you know it, as far as the fans are concerned. So for us, that's what it's about. It's making sure that, we are really embracing whatever players are on the roster, but they will feel that same passion and pride for playing for the Breakers that everyone else, that the local Kiwi guys do as well.
I'm super excited to see what happens, not just next year, not just this offseason, but the future of the New Zealand Breakers. It's going to be very fun to watch. I do want to ask you quickly before you go, what's more stressful in the current situation, the role you're in now or playing at the absolute of your prime contending for a championship?
I'll tell you what, this role is far more stressful because there's things you can't control when you're yourself. You can control how you play. You can control how you prepare for a game. And once you're put out on the court, it's up to you to play your role. When you're in this role, you put your pieces together and you hope they do the job that you think they're capable of doing. And the same thing, and that goes right across coaching staff, the high performance team, those sorts of things as well. So that's the stressful part of it. And you're putting what you think are good pieces together for the puzzle, but you're just not sure if those pieces are all going to fit nicely and you're going to have a nice harmonious season. At the end of the day, if people got it right every season, then everyone would win the championship every season. But the reality is that doesn't happen very often. We've been very spoilt in New Zealand, but as you said, of winning 4 championships over 5 years. And the fans expect that, which is great, but the reality is, there's always going to be one winner every year. And there's going to be, 9 losers every year, whether it's second through to 9th place. it's still losing, and it doesn't mean the season has been a failure. It just means that you weren't able to get across the line that year. And as you mentioned, the Breakers got close a couple of years ago, and the fans remember that, and they want that feeling again. And they haven't had that for a couple of years, so it's important that we do well to make sure our fans are fit.
Well, I'm on board the train. I'm sure the New Zealand fans can continue to pile up. Mate, thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to catching up soon.
No, awesome, and I look forward to seeing your pre season predictions. Then, if you're on the train, let's see.
Oh, I'm always on the train. I was in the COVID ones. I had you winning it both years. I'll go back and scoop that out. Thank you, mate.